Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm JerryLass, mocking idiots with a German accent. We've seen quite a lot of weird attempts to prove flat Earth, but the brilliant idea debunking the globe with a thermos mark is really outstanding, idiotic in its own right.
How is that, you may ask? Well, let me explain.
Some flat earthers are simply fun, with pseudoscience-based bullshit loaded with arrogance and spiced with an outworldish portion of self-confidence. They are the ideal targets for good laugh on their expense. But there's another type also. The victims of the scammers who make a living from their delusional crap. And in my honest opinion, our Johnny here is one of them. He obviously lacks higher education, a simple guy, doing his job, making his living, and fallen for total nonsense. As hilarious his crude explanations are, as saddening are they likewise. But have a look for yourself on his trilogy of flat Earth idiocy. Without further ado, let's meet Johnny in his deep thoughts. First, he tries to disprove the globe with a total wrong understood IT phrase.
Hi, welcome to my video. A phrase came to mind the other day, and I think this phrase, it's a familiar phrase. I'm sure you've heard it. I've heard it dozens of times probably, but it's so simple that I think a lot of people just forget about it.
Well, it will be quite simple, I'm perfectly sure about that. A simpleton like you will not have any brilliant revelation, or am I wrong?
And I think this phrase will debunk globe science. Period.
Debunk the whole science in one phrase? Well, Johnny, that's really something, or is it? Now you really make me very curious.
The defenders of the globe like to quote their scientific data. They say, we have scientific data that proves the Earth is a sphere. We have scientific data that proves the heliocentric model. We have scientific data that proves the infinite universe is full of billions of planets and stars and suns and whatever.
Yes, we do. We do have proof galore for all of it, except of whatever. But know what, Johnny? That's the small but important difference. You have no proof and no data and no clue. You just bubble along.
Well, this simple phrase that came to mind the other day will essentially nullify every single piece of scientific data ever released by NASA. Every computer system ever developed, every software program, every single line of code ever written or used, either the computers, the software, or the code.
Every single line of code ever used by any science agency. Also, the code used for payroll, facility management and security systems to keep idiots from the facilities. And even if so, I wonder which lines of code were used before ENIAC. Did the Royal Society use an abacus running Linux? I don't think so.
For use by NASA or any other science agency was based on the assumption that the Earth is a sphere and it orbits a sun that's 93 million miles away.
Well, I'm not exactly an expert for NASA computers, but I got at least a solid understanding of what software does and what not. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that 99% of all scientific software running on the sphere would also produce a proper result on a cube, a disk, or in an empty void like you had.
All of the computers, all of the software, all of the code are all based on the false assumption that the Earth is a sphere. So, this simple phrase that came to mind the other day, the one that we all know and are familiar with, the one that programmers like to use, garbage in, garbage out.
So that's your big phrase for which you made us wait for over 3 minutes? Great.
That's it. If you start with erroneous data, you end up with erroneous data. Garbage in, garbage out. Period. And that's it. Every piece of scientific data ever published by NASA is false. Period. Based on that simple phrase. They started out with a false assumption. Their data that they produce, also false.
Garbage in, garbage out. Maybe you start in your own house, I can smell it from here. All you're proving is that you don't have the slightest idea of what you're talking about. But just for the good measure, I take you serious for a minute. You claim that due to the misconception of the spherical reality of our globe, all data processed anywhere in any scientific institute will result in garbage.
Thank you for watching, and remember, keep it simple.
Even if that would be the case, how can the result of an operation inflict the validity of the data on the input side? To make it easier for you, if you had a nice dinner but later on a terrible fart, does this inflict the good taste you had in your favorite greasy spoon before? But I really thought that we can keep it simple enough for you. And that's really sad. His second punch on the sphere, a thermos mug, and no idea of physics whatsoever. After destroying the globe in one simple go, Johnny is not satisfied yet. It got to be the final blow for all these out there who are not yet fully convinced. And what would be more convincing to prove a flat Earth than the Yeti? Well, listen for yourself.
Hi guys, what's going on? The Yeti Rambler Tumbler disproves the heliocentric theory. How is that, you may ask? Well, let me explain.
I wonder if Yeti Rambler is impressed with this product placement.
The Yeti Rambler is constructed of double wall stainless steel. There's an inner wall which contains your liquids, then there's a space, then there's an outer wall, and then they vacuum seal it. So there is like maybe 1/8 of an inch maybe of vacuum in between the two walls. So you put your hot drink in there and it stays hot.
Well, that's exactly how a thermos flask works. Not all is lost, Johnny. There's hope.
So, how does this disprove the heliocentric theory? The heat from your coffee cannot transfer across 1/8 of an inch of vacuum. It cannot transfer across that space. Not even 1/8 of an inch. There's 1/8 of an inch of vacuum in between the two layers, and the heat cannot transfer across that vacuum. That's what keeps your hot drinks hot. If you got something cold in there, the heat from the outside of the container cannot transfer to the inner wall because of that 1/8 of an inch of space.
To be exact, the vacuum blocks conduction, nothing else. And as an add-on for you, the inside of the flask is silver lined to prevent radiation. That's how it works. This information will get very important in a minute.
The heat can't transfer across the vacuum, not even 1/8 of an inch. So, how is the sun's heat transferred across 93 million miles of space? Vacuum? It isn't.
Yes, it is. And the $1,000 answer is radiation, energy waves. As simple as that, Johnny.
Because the sun is small and close and local in our atmosphere, that is how we're able to feel the heat from the sun.
Nope, that's plain bullshit. Refuted much more often than you had a warm lunch.
It's not 93 million miles away in the vacuum of space. The Yeti Rambler Tumbler proves that heat cannot transfer across a vacuum.
No, the Yeti Tumbler proves that heat can't conduct through vacuum. There are 3 methods of heat transfer: conduction, convection, and radiation. The vacuum in the flask blocks only conduction. Period, Johnny. Period.
I don't own one, but I'm thinking about purchasing one. Perhaps the Yeti Rambler Tumbler should be the official drink holder of Flat Earth. What do you think?
Oh, Johnny, you could have figured that out in less than 2 minutes. There are countless articles online how thermos flasks work. But hey, why the effort? Again, it saddens me. This guy does not even know the Rambler Tumbler. He obviously just saw an ad for it. Maybe the Yeti is just not working? At least I had some flasks which did only one thing: leak. Anyhow, I secretly would love to see the face of the marketing guy at Yeti Rambler the moment he realizes that all his efforts were in vain and they turned into the official mark of United Internet Idiots. That's a pretty good marketing slogan. We are the official mark of the Flatearthers. Yeah, go for that.
Proof. The sun's not 93 million miles away in the vacuum of space because heat cannot transfer across the vacuum. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.
You're still here. Oh, that's great. So you won't miss the final chapter of idiocy. As Johnny has proven now beyond doubt, NASA data is all totally wrong. But to keep the show running and to waste taxpayers millions and billions, they must launch rockets. What else? That's what NASA does, doesn't it? Sure. But due to the abundance of space, planets and things out there, they have to fly to somewhere else. At least in Johnny's delusional world. And what region else could be better suited to dump hundreds and hundreds of rockets each year than the region just in front of Cape Canaveral, also known as the Bermuda Triangle. So, Johnny, give it to us in real truther style.
Hi guys, how's it going? I was just thinking the other day about, I saw someone's meme about NASA launching from their rockets from coastal cities to so that they could ditch the rockets into the ocean, or more specifically the Bermuda Triangle. And that got me thinking. I remember back in the early 70s when I was a kid, there was I'd see a lot of
things on TV.
I remember these programs very well. Elderly men with weird sideburns holding the latest book in the camera, talking about Bigfoot and the Yeti mating with some aliens in the chambers of the Cheops pyramid, talking about UFOs, and yeah, they were absolutely trustworthy and never debunked. Of course not.
You know, mysteries of whatever. There was talk about aliens, there was talk about Bigfoot, and then there was talk about the Bermuda Triangle. Those were the big three mysteries, the Bermuda Triangle being one of the big ones. And I didn't think much about it. I thought it was cool when I was a kid, you know, the mysterious Bermuda Triangle, you know, airplanes crash and disappear, ships sink, and you know, no one's ever found. They even had a board game about the Bermuda Triangle, and I know this because I had the board game. I thought the Bermuda Triangle was cool. I was like, oh, I never want to go there because ships disappear.
Yeah, and I had as a child in the 70s a shitty board game with a plastic shark. Guess what? I decided to go never near plastic sharks after playing that.
And all that hype back in the 70s more than likely was to spread fear about the Bermuda Triangle to keep people out of there, because that's basically a rocket graveyard.
No, the hype was to sell Charles Berlitz's stupid books about the Bermuda Triangle.
You've seen the picture, like the parabolic arch, or you watch the launches on TV. They go up, they level off, and then they disappear from sight.
Pardon me? The rockets get out of sight? On a flat Earth? How can that be?
And they land in the Bermuda Triangle. So yeah, it's that's just something that occurred to me the other day. I'm like, wow, I wonder if, yeah, they probably did start all that hype back in the 70s.
And no, the hype around the Bermuda Triangle started way before NASA was even founded. Actually, Christopher Columbus was the first one to report strange stuff from there. By far not his only fault.
You know, fabricate all those stories, or I'm sure they probably did. They would say that the compass on the ship or the airplane, their instrumentation would go crazy. It was more than likely a government plane jamming their radar, or, you know, sending magnetic pulses to screw up their compass so that they would get lost and either turn around, or if they didn't turn around and go back, sink them.
They must be quite busy doing that. There are at least a few hundred regular flights over this area from and to Florida airports every single day, not to mention dozens of ships. Astonishing that they all disappear and airlines still use these routes.
Actually sink ships and force airplanes to crash just to keep people away from their rocket graveyard. So I guess that's all I really wanted to say in this video. It's just a thought that occurred to me. And what are your thoughts about the Bermuda Triangle? Do you think they could have started all that hype just to keep people out of there? Because I'm pretty sure that's where the rockets are going. I mean, they have to go somewhere, and I know they're not going into outer space.
So you know that they're not going to outer space. Well, that's impressive. And totally idiotic. Johnny, a word. You look really like a decent guy. You don't make videos running around harassing people. You're just stuck in a delusion. Don't be an idiot. Get help. There are many ex-Flatearthers out there on YouTube. Get in touch and get help. And get your shit together. So, if you liked my video, please consider to subscribe and like. And of course, feel welcome to comment. See you next time. I'm JerryLass, mocking idiocy with a German accent, and I'm out.